Houston metro area is one of those cities who received the true brunt and the dirty side of the storm. Beryl brought straight line wind gusts reaching over 80 miles per hour, toppling trees and power lines in the process. Our next guest was actually in his home Monday morning when a tree fell on his house, trapping him along with all the rubble inside.
All right, what's going on, y'all, today? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and introduce yourself for the one time, man.
Man, it's a blessing to be here. It's your boy Jordann Dwayne. I'm a multi-chart topping artist and producer. You know, I'm a business owner, a published cryptocurrency investor. You know, I'm a people's person, but I'm all about making music. You know, that's what I really do. That music is my main thing.
You like the rush of the wrist, I'ma jump either way. You love it, translucent. I know that look in your face. Your beautiful soul is supposed to live this way. Alive, baby girl, can't put my love for you into just one diamond. Call for Mr. Dwayne from the cockpit. These moments be so iconic. Pick comments with the patience, done seen with a rest.
Okay. So like, why don't you? I heard that you was in the a storm accident. You know what I'm saying? Where you was trapped under some trees or something like that. Why don't you explain to us what happened, man?
Man, so it's crazy. You know, a few weeks ago we had Hurricane Beryl come through Houston, and you know, like as a Texan, you know, Texas people, I really feel like we don't take hurricanes as seriously as we should. And you know, we kind of prepared for it. You know, we knew it was a Category 1 coming our way, but we didn't really, you know, think too much of it. But it was so crazy with this specific situation, because I just remember throughout the whole days leading up to it, you know, we were stocking up, you know, different things in the house, you know, getting water ready and everything like that. But as the storm rolled in that night, you know, I'm a night person, so I'm usually up to about 4 or 5 in the morning anyways. And we were, me and my boy that was staying with me at the time, you know, we were up to about 3 or 4 in the morning. And then he actually went to his side of the house, and I went back to my room. And you know, I remember I was watching the storm tracker online, and about 5:30, you know, things really just started getting bad, but I started getting a little tired. So the last few things, just the big vivid details I do definitely remember before everything happened was, you know, I actually remember going to get food, and I went and put it back in the sink after I got done with it, and went and laid down. And I remember, like I said, I was watching the storm tracker like kind of before I passed out, and I remember closing my laptop and just kind of like dozing off, like right to where the point where you kind of, right when you fall asleep. And then I heard a loud crack, and that's actually what woke me up. It made me open my eyes, but like right when I opened my eyes, I just literally heard everything just fall. It was just like boom, boom, boom. And you know, everything happened so fast, and I was laying in my bed when it happened and didn't really realize like what was going on or how it was happening. But you know, once I realized kind of what happened, that, you know, everything fell, and I didn't realize it was the tree. I didn't know if it was the house. I didn't know what it was, but I was literally stuck under everything. And it was just one of those situations where, you know, you kind of wake up and it takes you a second to kind of realize what's going on. And you know, like I said, I couldn't move at all. I couldn't move anything. I was kind of stuck in a really uncomfortable position in a really small confined space, but I didn't realize the extent of what was happening. And luckily my friend that was with me at the time, who was on the other side of the house, it took him a while to even realize, you know, where I was, everything that happened, because that side of the house didn't have as much damage, but he came to my side and realized that, you know, stuff had just, you know, collapsed on everything. And I was screaming for him, and he was yelling back for me, and he finally heard me. You know, like one of the first things I remember him saying was just like, I gotta go get help. You know, he's like, it's a lot of bad stuff on top of you. And I still didn't realize the extent of what happened. You know, I was still kind of in shock. I was definitely really hurt, but I didn't even really realize the extent of the hurt yet. But yeah, I was under there for about 30-45 minutes, and the neighbors, you know, started coming. I could hear all the neighbors screaming, trying to move things, but they weren't able to really move anything either. And then I heard one of them yelling, you know, we got to go get the fire department. So it took the fire department about another 20 minutes to come pull up, because the storm was still going on. So you could hear all the wind, you could hear everything. And I remember at one point I was kind of just trying to dig for more, I guess, like air, for fresh air, and I kind of pulled on something, and then that caused the water to kind of come into where I was at and start to kind of almost fill up, you know. So it was just one of those situations where it's like, you know, you're not really ever really sure what's going to happen, but, you know, I'm a big person on faith. So, you know, with everything that was going on, it was just really, I was really trying to just keep myself calm, not have like panic attacks. I was definitely praying the whole time. You know, I'm a real big prayer, so I was really stuck on trying to, you know, stay positive through the whole situation. But, you know, and I kept telling myself, you know, with everything, you know, you hear about stories like when 9/11 happened, you know, they were rescuing people for days after that, you know, and I kept telling myself, you know, people could survive days in that, you know, I'd be okay, but it's like, when you're in situations like that, time moves so slow. Like, you know, I was under there for, I think, about an hour, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and just through that, you know, it's one of those things that really tests your patience, it really tests your mental, and I finally hear the fire department come and pull up. And, you know, it took them about an hour to cut me out. They was definitely, you know, chainsaws. They used the jaws of life, the airbags. They used a lot of different, they was axing at, what, you know, whatever it was. And by the time they were able, they got my feet free first, you know, and that's kind of when my anxiety really kicked in. And I was it kind of put me at a higher anxiety level, just, you know, with my lower half being free. And I was in so much pain, but I was trying to just kind of put that to the side while everything was happening. And, you know, it took them, like I said, it took them about an hour to get me fully all the way out and, you know, to get me on the stretcher and get me to the hospital and everything. But it was definitely one of those experiences that it's like, I mean, I don't wish that on anybody, you know. You look back and just kind of realize, you know, after the sense, you know, how everything kind of hits you. But you definitely, you know, it's like I said, it's one of those situations that you never think you could find yourself in or anything like that's possible for somebody, you know. And you hear about stories about people being trapped under things and, you know, you think it's something that's, you know, and I'm not even gonna say it's something easy, but it's one of those things that, you know, you can never really prepare yourself for until it actually happens. So with it actually happening, you know, and just looking back on everything, as you say, it's really just a blessing to be here, you know, and I'm a lot more grateful for everything. So it was definitely an eye-opening experience.
I just remember I just kept praying the whole time and trying to count to 30 as many times as possible and praying in between. It's like I don't know. I was like, I know God doesn't do things by mistakes, and I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna still be under this alive and nobody can come and help.
It is an absolute miracle that he survived. I mean, just look at the damage from this house. It is destroyed from top to bottom. The roof caved in, and the only way out was through this window that neighbors broke to get them out. He remembers waking up to a loud crash around 9 a.m. this morning and says that's when the tree fell onto his house. He heard his friend and roommate Parker Shanks screaming for him from the other side of the house. But ultimately, he had to wait for firefighters to arrive before.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I was about to ask you, like, how does this event, like, kind of change your outlook on life? But I guess you kind of pretty much answered that, huh? You know?
So, you know, just being a lot more grateful and thankful. I'm like I said, I'm real big on faith. I'm real big on praying. And, you know, now I feel like I pray a lot more. I'm a lot closer to God through everything that happened. Because, like I said, when I was under there the whole time, I was really just trying to stay calm, not overexert myself and really freak out. Because it's all about your mind when you're in, like, bad situations. You know, you don't want to make things worse by overthinking it. So it's just staying calm, you know. But as a long term, you know, I don't feel like that, like, I don't think I have, like, PTSD or anything like that. You know, I'm a person who, and I've had people tell me this before, like, I suppress a lot of things, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I kind of try to put everything off to the side and try not to overthink and overanalyze things, but it hits you when you're laying down at night. It really makes you realize, you know, there's a lot of people that passed away in Hurricane Beryl, and it was from trees falling, you know, and it's like to find out that I was actually one of the only people who survived a tree falling on them during the hurricane. It's definitely mentally challenging, you know. It's one of those things that you try not to overthink and overanalyze moving forward, because it'll really damage your mind. But it's just it was a heavy situation. It was definitely it changes how I look at everything now, you know, just being more grateful, being more appreciative of everything, all the small things, you know, being patient. I'm gonna say I've been working on my patience a lot more, and, you know, just being under there for the amount of time that I was under there, that felt like a lifetime, you know, looking back, knowing it was only like 2 hours, you know, it definitely just makes you, you know, more appreciative of everything that's just going on around you. You know, you enjoy being patient. Things take a long time to happen, you know, and then everything can fall apart so fast. So just knowing that, you know, just learning and really mastering patience.
No, for real, that, no doubt, man, no doubt. Okay, so, like, I want to know, what would you say to the world right now, whoever's watching? Like, what would your advice be? You know what I'm saying?
Man, tell everybody that you love them, because you never know how fast life changes. You know, let everybody know how much you appreciate them and how thankful you are of them, because everything happens so fast. Like I say, you look at how situations change overnight for people. You know, you look at people that can be all the way up, and I don't even necessarily mean like a monetary sense, but just like positioning in life and how fast things can change. Like, you know, you never think worst case scenarios could happen to you, you know, and I'm always a person who doesn't like to think, like, I'll be prepared for worst case, but you never want to put yourself in a mindset of, you know, things bad can happen. But it's like, realistically living in today's society, like, you just kind of got to be prepared for stuff like that. So just always, you know, be one step ahead, be 2-3 steps ahead if possible. But just when it comes to like natural disasters and just things that can be controlled on our end, like, you know, you just got to be very aware and very prepared for the things that can happen, you know, worst case scenario, and be ready to do what you need to do. But when it comes to like storms and stuff like that now, like, I wouldn't advise. And I mean, it's just me personally, you know, I know a lot of people, like I say, Texas people, we don't really take hurricanes seriously, you know, and I say that as a whole. You know, we've had our bad storms in Houston and in the surrounding areas, but it's like, compared to places that have hurricanes a lot, you know, we always kind of seem to get the left side of the storm, the right side. And like, even with Hurricane Beryl, it was only category 1, they say. So, you know, just realistically thinking about everything, like, just always be prepared for what can come, you know what I'm saying? Always do what you need to do to make sure you're prepared for things that's coming, and just always pray, man. You gotta keep the faith, because it's one of those things that's what's gonna hold you through all the way to the end. It's just knowing that there's a bigger purpose, a bigger sense in everything.
You gotta stay prayed up, no doubt on that part, man.
Gotta pray.
Already, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with us, man. You know what I'm saying? Tell everybody where we can find you at, you know what I'm saying? Your IG, YouTube, you know what I'm saying?
So it's your boy Jordann Dwayne. Once again, that's Jordan with 2 N's, Dwayne, D-W-A-Y-N-E. That's Jordann Dwayne on everything, all social medias, all digital streaming platforms. Yeah, like I said, shout out to NBK Studios for the interview. We doing this project real big this time. So stay prayed up, y'all. Keep believing, never stop believing, and always stay 3 steps ahead of everything.